held. So as you may know, there are bills before the legislature to take marriage equality away from committed gay and lesbian couples. Tomorrow is the hearing at 10:30 in Representatives Hall at the State House in Concord. It's unfortunate that marriage equality is even coming up again. It's been a couple of years since the legislature passed it and the governor signed the bill that gave loving gay and lesbian couples the right to marry. Since then, about 1,300 couples have married, and surprise, surprise, nothing much has changed in the state of Illinois. We've recently done some polling. You might have heard about two polls that have been both ours and UNH's. And what we're finding is that it's the economy that people are really caring about right now. I will contradict anyone who says that this last election was about marriage. It wasn't. It was about the economy. So we've got two professional polls back to back. And here's some of the stuff that this shows. It showed that 96% of Republicans in the state, and for those of you who read polls or do polls, know you never get 96% of anything. 96% of Republicans in this state say that the state should stay focused on the economy and leave these social issues alone. Let me say that New Hampshire's marriage equality law is popular. Let me repeat that. New Hampshire's marriage equality law is popular. So most oppose repealing the law. 66% of independents and even 1 in 3 Republicans oppose repealing this law. Eliminating the freedom to marry is not sitting well with the New Hampshire values. We take responsibility for ourselves, each other, and we value individual liberties and freedom. So one of the things we did today, and I'll talk a little bit more about some polling numbers here, 88% of Democrats, 66% of independents, and 35% of Republicans oppose this legislation. One of the things we did today was we had a press conference, and for those of you who make it home tonight, turn on WMUR and watch it. We kicked off our campaign in Standing Up for New Hampshire Families, and Lou Felstein, former CEO of the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, who has been listed as one of New Hampshire's top 10 important people in the state by New Hampshire Business Magazine, has agreed to be our co-chairs. We are forming this campaign. We understand that this is a multi-year campaign. This is going to go straight through to the ballot in November of 2012, and we're going to bring together citizens, civic leaders, organizations, business leaders, to make sure that our voices are heard in the State House, and that people don't get any skewed ideas of what is important to the people of New Hampshire. The hearings are tomorrow. There are several bills. Two of them repeal marriage equality just for gays and lesbians. One of them repeals marriage for everybody. I'm not making that up. One of the bills just repeals marriage equality for gays and lesbians. The other not only repeals marriage equality for gays and lesbians, but states that marriage between a man and a woman is the only domestic relationship that we recognize for anything in the state of New Hampshire, which could interfere with a whole lot of families, family dynamics. The third bill, as I said, repealed marriage for everyone, and the state of New Hampshire will no longer issue marriage licenses, and all of you who are married will have your marriages converted to a domestic union, I believe is the phrase they're using. That one comes from our libertarian brothers and sisters. It doesn't come from a homophobic place or anything like that. I mean, they have good intentions, although it would eliminate any federal laws, so none of you would be getting Social Security or VA benefits or any of those things. So you might want to think about that for a while. tomorrow. It is vitally important that anyone who can, and even if it means that you have to take a vacation day or a sick day, come to Concord and show up at this hearing. Some of you may have heard of the National Organization of Marriage. They are an out-of-state group that's been labeled a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. They spent over $1 million in the state of New Hampshire during the last election cycle. They have declared that they will do whatever it takes to take away marriage from New Hampshire's gay and lesbian couples. The majority leader recently held a press conference and talked about, priorities. And I know this is a Democratic gathering, but I have to say for the record, New Hampshire Freedom to Marry is a nonpartisan organization. So the majority leader held a press conference and said, look, this is not our priority. Our priority is jobs and the budget and stuff like that. So this National Organization for Marriage did a mailing slamming him in his district, saying that he just wasn't conservative. So it's like, they're here to stay, we're here to stay. The hearing tomorrow, as Jim said, there are 298 Republicans in the House and 102 Democrats. Although I think people, after Election Day, it was like, oh, woe is me, this is done, there's nothing we can do. And we're finding that not to be true. As the polling shows, 1 in 3 Republicans oppose repeal. And we're finding that in the State House as well, that there is no one Republican position on this issue. There are different fractions in the Republican caucus, and is no less than the majority leader of the House of Representatives have said this is not his priority. So we're not out of the ballpark. We've got the governor who has stated very clearly and repeatedly that he is going to veto any legislation that repeals marriage equality. So the members of the New Hampshire House of Representatives need to hear from you. They need to hear the message that during the worst economic times since the Great Depression, maybe we need to not be doing this, and we need to think about how we can create jobs for people. This is just a bad idea. Today, tomorrow, next week, next year, this is a bad idea, and they shouldn't do it. In New Hampshire, we've got shared values. And gay and lesbian couples are the same as anyone else. It's like we get up in the morning, we go to work, we're shoveling the driveway, we're getting the kids off to school, we're feeding the dog. And they need to know that the people of New Hampshire, the citizens of New Hampshire, who do value civil liberties and do care about our neighbors, don't want them to touch marriage equality. So it's going to be vitally important that you call your legislator, although you do have some good legislators here in Portsmouth, I must say. And go to our webpage. Google New Hampshire Freedom to Marry or our new campaign, Standing Up for New Hampshire Families. We're going to need everyone to participate in this campaign because there are well-financed folks out there trying to do whatever they can to hurt us. We know we've got the legislation this year. We know next January they're going to introduce a constitutional amendment to put it on the ballot in November. So we're not waiting. We're all hands on deck. Come on down. We'll see you in Concord tomorrow.